What is up, guys? You're tuning into this Okiru podcast. I'm your co-host, Jasper, and we thank you so much for spending this time with us. We hope you enjoy this episode. Make sure to follow us on our socials at okiru.apparel on Instagram, Okiru on Facebook, Okiru on YouTube, and also Okiru on major platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We hope you enjoy.
Okiru.
What is up, guys?
What's up,
Welcome
guys?
to another Okiru podcast. We've got back Aaron, and now we got his mate Rob. How are we doing, boys? How are we doing?
Doing really good.
Bro.
Yeah?
Thanks for setting this up, man.
Of course, man.
I love doing these podcasts.
We love to have discussions with you guys. So what have you been up to since the last year?
Wait, what?
What have you been up to since last year?
What have you been up to?
I mean, for me, I would say I started focusing more on my career, like focusing on applications. That's about it for the career side, and then hobbies wise, just continuing powerlifting.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
What's your career that you're pursuing?
I'm pursuing electrical engineering.
Oh, nice.
I recently graduated 2020.
Oh, congratulations,
Thanks,
man.
man.
Yeah, congrats,
So what do you plan to do with your electrical engineering? What was your goal for that?
My goal for that? Oh, like I guess just work in the field, man. Like,
Yeah, we're in the field. Do you have any places you want to be specifically, like any career paths with that background, or is it something that you pursued because you wanted to study?
I mean, it's a bit of both. Like, I knew I was gonna do something engineering during uni.
Yeah,
I just didn't know like which specific one.
of course.
But like when I did like the foundation subject
Yeah,
for each of them, like civil, mechanical, electrical,
Oh,
I
I see.
enjoyed electrical most. That's why I
Nice.
went with that path.
that's dope, man. That's dope. Like, we're pretty much all out of uni and like we've experienced in our fields. Like, is there any advice we could or tips and tricks that we could share to Rob? Yeah.
Just keep working towards it, man. Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. If you really want that job, you're gonna focus on it.
Any specific steps that you would recommend?
Yeah. Or like, what steps could we recommend to Rob or anyone else who's just graduated uni and is looking to, pursue that career and push themselves forward?
Once the lockdown's out, travel.
Traveling.
You'll experience more with traveling and experiencing different people from different countries.
Yeah.
Compared to going straight to uni. I reckon personally that's what I missed, like doing a gap year kind of thing. And looking back into it, I wish I did it, but it's just like circumstantial. Like I had to go straight to uni, make my own money kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot you can learn from life experience.
But definitely, like once lockdowns finish, people who just finish high school just travel, man, for like 4 months, find a job somewhere, like in another country, and experience it. I reckon. Yeah.
Is that which way you would have lived your life? I
guess so,
understand.
but there's
the
no
appeal
point.
to it.
There's no point like
Looking back. Yeah.
You can just only move forward, and maybe in the future, maybe I can take like a long service leave and travel.
Yeah. Where would you want to go?
Different countries, man. But for now, like I've been wanting to go back to Japan. Went there around 2018. Stayed for a week. A week wasn't enough, man. Like you need, I reckon, 4 weeks to enjoy Japan. It's just like a different culture.
Yeah, it's completely opposite. So you just do 1 week. How come you only stayed there for 1 week?
So we had a 2-week leave from work. So we did 1 week Korea because we haven't been to Korea. Then 1 week Japan.
Nice.
What was the cultural difference between Korea and Japan? Like I've heard different perspectives on that.
To be honest, man, like this is my bias, but
Yeah.
I enjoy Japan better than Korea. Japan had everything: the food, entertainment, culture. Korea still had of that, but like Japan was more impressive for me personally.
Yeah.
What made it impressive for you? What was the thing?
It's just like, man, you don't have this in Australia. It's like
It's a
Yeah.
whole new world type
It's
of
a whole
thing, right?
new world,
It's a whole
man.
new world. Like I swear, like when stepping foot of the airport and then into the train, it's like, whoa, this is
The
I'm not in,
feeling.
the feeling. I'm not in a different space, man. I'm like in a
Oh
different
my
place.
god! Just driving to the airport and having that like airport vibes, I was just like, bruh.
Yeah.
I miss this.
Like there's a lot to unpack there. But going back to what other advice could or tips we could share to people who just graduated uni and is looking to advance in that career
Like if they want to go for a career,
or whatever, right? Like they finished it for a reason, So
if it's for you, man, you'll just keep working towards it. Like if it's not, then it's not for you.
Right.
Yeah, I would say like after you graduate, there's a lot of pressure of you trying to find that job, and you probably have that thing in mind. I got to be in this certain job, but try to be flexible with and open to different options, because you never know what that might lead you. So if you go into a company, going into a role that you weren't expecting, like, okay, but at least you put your foot in the door, and that way you can
Got some
lead.
insight.
Yeah, exactly, and then you can lead to that thing. So there's a lot of pressure of getting into the exact job you want to get, but that takes time and experience, and you never know, because you might get into a job that you actually prefer in the meantime, like, oh, I actually like this job compared to the one I was thinking of getting into. So so just be flexible.
So, have a plan A, plan B, plan C kind of thing.
Right.
There's different options. Don't look at things in black and white, because they're not black and white.
Okay. Right. Yeah, no, those are really great, man. Like, I think one thing if I knew for myself was, build on yourself and like be fearlessly you. Like don't try to transform yourself to conform to a certain culture or a certain team, because then it's just like, eventually you're gonna be like, wait.
Just be
you, pretty much. Be confident in who you are. Obviously, it takes a lot of different skills behind that to be confidently you. But if there's anything I wish I could have been, is that be who I am and just be genuine to myself.
Like if you don't mind
just
me
need to work towards it.
If you don't mind me asking, what did you study in uni?
So I studied product design.
Oh yeah.
It's design's pretty hard, like getting into a job, and obviously when you get out of uni and you're in your last day, you get told like there's no point in you like working in there, like you're not gonna get a job. So it's hard to hear that, right? It kind of breaks down your self-image. But if you're confident in who you are, like why should it matter what someone else said, right? But obviously that takes a lot of other skills and growth. But anyway, in terms of growth, right? Like we discussed before that Rob, you're on your own journey to become better, and Aaron, you've been reading books and looking into self-development.
So, working out, reading books, saving money, investing. Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the books.
Let's go to the books.
Let's go to the books, right?
Yep. So recently, been reading 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Halfway through it, it's been pretty insightful. Lots of golden nuggets. Talks about the Bible a lot, actually. Personally, I'm not religious, but like I can see how he's like including that into the story of being yourself.
Right.
It gets pretty deep. Oh man, where do I start?
Well, we'll start with what are some of the golden nuggets that you can remember.
What was that? Make your bed.
Make your bed.
We were just discussing that before just back then. And there's a chapter in Jordan Peterson where it says, clean up your house before you judge the world. Did you get up to that part when you were reading?
Probably, but I read it a while ago, so
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like set your house in order before you judge what's happening outside. Because if you can't even set your house in order, who are you to judge what everyone else is doing and how the external world is doing? So basically, doing the right thing, basically, of what you need to do. Like stop procrastinating, stop doing the wrong thing when internally it's wrong and you shouldn't do it. Just be true to yourself. And he mentioned that your life will be much better. Like, okay, so he talks about how life is suffering, yeah?
Right.
Life is suffering. Like, life is not easy. And if you have the strength to like go through that hard life, you make your life much better for yourself. How do I say it? Like, all right, so say you have your house in order, everything, you know where everything is, and disaster happens. Since everything is in order, you know where everything is, and when this disaster strikes, it's not as bad because you got that good thing happening.
Right.
Whereas if it's not in order and disaster does strike, it goes much worse for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So that's one of the topics he was talking about. He probably, like, the book probably explains it much better than I did. But yeah, that's one of the topics.
So when you say setting the house in order, that's talking about like
Setting yourself, like your room, like what you do in your everyday life. Like, do you do things like that you think is actually right, like internally? Like procrastinate, like you know you're not supposed to do it. Oh, I think we discussed this already in the previous podcast, but I think it comes down to that our brain's hardwired for the immediate gratification. So like procrastinating feels good at the time, but in the long run it's not, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it goes back into that topic.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Pretty interesting, man.
Yeah, I like this was reference to another, like one of the older podcasts, but from what you said, it's about choosing your suffering, because we always end up suffering no matter what, whether you enjoy this what do you call it, procrastination, whatever this immediate satisfaction thing is, and then later on you're going to suffer anyway, whether you suffer now and then you enjoy something later on, which is more beneficial for you. So you choose your suffering.
Choose your suffering.
Yeah. Like I know, like I started doing cold showers, so I started waking up at 5 a.m. sometimes 4:30.
Full cold, max.
Full cold, whatever the full blast is.
Yeah.
And I guess the reason why I started doing that, because I noticed,
because you're putting yourself in a situation that's already uncomfortable. Right. So you're preparing yourself for the day, like
exactly
that stress.
Right. So, but yeah, as I was alluding to, it started off, I was waking up at 6 and like rushing to go to work, rushing to get changed. And then I know I was like, man, like I'm waking up with like no time. And then after I made that decision, you know, I already naturally wake up at 4:30, but then I'll just always go back to sleep to wake up at 6. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to change this. I'll start waking up 5, sometimes 4:30, and just like getting up and having that cold shower. So you start the day, you wake up, you have suffering, you've chosen that to have that. Yeah. And majority of the small things in life on that day becomes a bit easier.
Pretty much.
And then,
so 100%.
Yes. Yeah. And I had that choice, and I finally did. I was like, I felt good. All right. So now I still have an hour and a half to kill. What am I going to do? I just brought back an hour and a half of my time. I actually didn't buy it back. I just allowed myself to wake up earlier, because no one has a choice of how much time they have. We all have X amount of numbers, the same of us. And then I realized, like, wow, in this hour, I can do a lot more things than before, right? 1 hour makes a big difference, even half an hour. I could do daily quotes. I could message to people who I miss messaging. I could do my accountability. I can write letters to, you know,
productivity.
Exactly. Right. By just having that change.
Can you talk about these things that you do in the morning and like?
Okay, so. Oh my god, it's gonna get a bit
getting a bit personal.
Yeah, it's gonna be personal there, man. But yeah, so sometimes I stay at my missus, so like it'll just be like wake up 5 o'clock. Sometimes, you know, I was like, snuggle, cuddle a bit, and then that's like for like 5 minutes and be like, all right, I gotta get up. So I hop into the shower, brush my teeth, hop into a shower, and then so it's just that cold full blast, right? Like it's like, oof. But you notice the more you do it, like your tolerance to that increases. So now it's just like,
how long do you stay in the cold shower?
Usually 2 minutes. So sometimes I'll start like washing myself, put soap on, like turn it off, and then washing myself and time it 2 minutes, sometimes longer. Excuse me. But then when I finish that, I'm like, all right, start time, make myself a tea, look through my messages, look through our board to see what we need to do through the day. And then sometimes I'll do like real cute stuff. So like sometimes I'll write notes to my missus and just plant them around the house, right?
Shit.
Yeah, so little some sweet things, or like I'll write her a letter, or
It's the little things,
it's
man,
little
that count.
things, yeah. Or like I do my daily, like I call it an oddcast. Like this is very personal, man. Like
I was just asking about your habits.
I know. But like, this is what I do. Like seriously, and then sometimes if I have time, I'll send an audio recording to her about like reflection.
And this is daily.
This is daily.
It's like journaling.
It's
Man,
like
I need to
journaling.
get it.
Right.
I need to get it.
And then sometimes, like if I'm on the way to work, it's like 20 minutes. I'll do an audio then, right? So now I've accomplished what? Check my board, check my messages, done something sweet for my missus, and then I also block out cuddling time before I leave. So I end that time before I leave in gratitude, right? I start my day being grateful for what I have, where I'm at. And then, once that's done, head off, go to work. You feel good. You feel energized. Do
you do this as a routine, like every single day, the same thing?
Ever since I started, yes.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Because routine is really important.
Right.
Like for
mostly it's on weekdays.
Okay.
Weekends, it's like
that's
chill, right?
Yeah.
That's where we change it up a bit, like whatever, how we feel. But we have that, right? It's that set cadence. For
I
us.
can resonate with that.
That's cool,
like,
man. Yeah.
I try to start the morning with a win as well. Like I try to keep my morning habits like really have a positive effect on my like day. So I wake up. First thing I do, I make my bed. It's already a win.
Yeah.
And then I drink a full glass of water. Then go to the toilet. Then after that, when I'm in the toilet, usually people are on their phones. I try not to go on my phone in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
I try to open a book and like continue where I left off, where I was reading.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
It's a good habit to really get into. So, like just reading a book just increases your focus. So I listened to another podcast, and there was this author that was really interesting. This is the next book I want to read. It's called Monotasking. Right? We think we can multitask. We think we can call time management, but we can't.
Multitask. I was reading this scientific article about it. Apparently, multitasking is bad for your brain. Like it's always your empathy and something else.
Probably. I don't know
There's
science.
There's a paper about it.
All right,
It's a
cool.
trade-off.
But what I was gonna say is
So what I'm saying is we're not meant to multitask.
yes.
Yeah, going with what you were saying. Yeah.
No, it's called, this guy, he created this book called Monotasking, right? And before that I was reading another book called Peak Mind, and pretty much it has a similar they have a similar discussion about being mindful. Yeah. But in his way, it's about being intentional. So monotasking is focusing on one task at a time and giving that full attention, right?
Yep.
And what that does is it builds a muscle in our brain to become more intentional in all the other things that we do, right? Because that's something you have to train, right? Because we live in a world where everything's just right at us, like a microwave culture. We have everything, social media.
Especially with the internet.
Yes,
well.
Especially with the digital space,
It's
right?
just like unlimited information coming at you
Exactly.
from all direction.
Exactly.
And you gotta focus on one.
And that's what kind of monotasking is. It's
What's his book called?
monotasking.
Monotasking.
Yes. I forgot his name. Oh, he had a pretty sick name.
But if I look up monotasking book, it'll just come up.
Something Wine.
Wine. Okay.
But
I'll find it. I'll find it. Yep.
Something Wine. His last name is Wine. But yeah, like pretty much he gives practices on how to do these things in certain areas of your life. But pretty much that removing that multitasking mindset and being confident and giving 100% in one task at a time, whether it's being on your phone reading, sending a message, reading a book, and also reading a book helps build that muscle of monotasking and being intentional. So that's why reading is actually like a very healthy habit, a really good habit to practice.
What would you say with one of the first ones that you would focus on? Ooh, thunder.
I think there's
Lightning.
thunderstorm.
thunder.
Yeah, there's lightning.
It's,
Yeah.
thunderstorm.
What would be like one task that you would say for a person starting off? Yeah.
I think reading is a big one
Mhm.
because not only are you focusing on each word, you're consuming information that's food for your mind, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
That's where I'd probably begin.
Mhm.
But something that anyone can start with, breathing.
Yes.
That's probably one of the
Meditation.
biggest ones with mindfulness, meditation. All those practices are incredibly, valuable to have and practice with.
Does it talk about like the issues with multitasking? That book.
Mm-hmm. Well, it mainly talks about. So why would you want to know the issues when you can have the solutions to preventing multitasking?
Yeah. But what's the problem with multitasking? What's
Well,
the issue with it?
The issue with multitasking is you're not confidently putting your entire attention on one thing,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Dividing the resource.
Exactly, dividing
Yeah.
your resources,
Yeah.
and then
so
what happens?
you're not as productive.
You're not as productive, and
Yeah.
your quality of work declines.
Yeah.
Right?
I get
So that's
you,
what
I get
pretty
you.
much
Yes.
the
That's
purpose.
the issue of them.
That's the issue of
multitasking.
multitasking.
Then.
Right?
Yep.
And obviously, there's other health issues which you about the article.
Empathy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a really good habit to practice, right?
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure there was other studies behind it. I completely forgot what it was. I think as it says, it increases the muscle in your brain that you don't really practice.
Pretty interesting, huh?
I wonder if you actually look at the research of like people these days compared to back in the day when you're more focused on one thing, because nowadays multitasking is a good, like, that's seen as a good thing for most people. Like, you can do so many things in one thing. One
Yeah, I know,
day,
right?
or-
There's like the societal
Right.
thing about it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
When it's actually not.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I wonder if, like, back in the day, they had that more of that mindfulness, that presence, and it actually helped them with production.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can totally see it.
Definitely, like and plus the quality is there because you're so focused on this one thing that
Like you look at monks and they always do mindfulness and meditation. And they look like they're at peace.
exactly. Why do you think that is?
Do you guys know about this event in Vietnam where a monk is protesting against something in Vietnam? And as a sign of protest, he burnt himself.
Okay, yeah,
And
I
he
saw
burnt
that.
himself to death.
Okay.
So if he's got that focus into his meditation, that burning himself doesn't even, bother him, then yeah, you're right, man. Like monotasking is the way.
Yeah,
Way
and
to go. Yeah.
focusing on removing distractions.
If someone can get to that level, where
Bring
they
their
can burn
minds to a
themselves,
different place.
Yeah.
Almost.
I think we can all get to that level. It's about just practicing it
It's about practicing
and
it,
building that habit,
because
right?
everyone starts somewhere. Obviously. Yeah.
Is that lightning?
It is.
Yeah, it's lightning.
I thought it was like a strobe light.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Yeah.
first, because it's not making any sound.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah.
there you go.
That's crazy.
We're getting a light show, guys.
Yo, I love storms, man.
Yeah.
Do you guys like, what weathers do you guys like?
What weather?
When it's not raining.
Oh, legit.
Yeah.
I like storms, man. Like,
I enjoy watching it.
yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy watching storms. I don't want
And then you
You don't want to be
to. Yeah.
but if you're like at a window and you
Yeah, it's a storm.
Yeah.
cool.
But anyway, going back.
Yeah, go
to
back.
I think we're getting
The
distracted,
thunderstorms
guys.
are
We're getting
good.
distracted. We're not monotasking at this moment.
Yeah, we're not, man. We're not.
We're checking out the storm and also making sure we're attentive.
That's it.
But yeah.
So, monotasking.
Yeah.
I need to read that book
Yeah.
after I
I
finish.
want to read it too. Like it's something on the
Decent.
book list for sure.
You mentioned intent before, and I think intent is really powerful word.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think some people get comfortable just putting in the hours in, and they expect that they're gonna get a good result. But like just being busy and putting the hours in doesn't really mean that you're being productive if you're not putting intent in, if you're not putting your concentration and focus into that one thing that you're trying to like improve on.
Of course. Well, I think intent is a part of it, but I think it's also more, it's a multifaceted thing, right? You need intent,
100%.
you need
It's just one of them.
clarity. Yeah, it's one of them, but it's a major part.
It
Like
is.
if you're not intentional about it, you won't have clarity. If you not have clarity, you can't be intentional about it. If you're missing another piece of it, you're not going to be able to do it, right? So it's like, where was I going? I lost myself now. intent. Wait, what?
I mean,
We're
there's a
talking about
benefit
the other
to.
facets of.
I think.
Okay, yeah. What other facets do you think will help potentially, get to the right goal? But I want to say like an analogy with that. Like I heard this is very simple, but it's in terms of you could have a high quality habit, like very driven, but missing something else. It's kind of like you said, you have that expectation of something happening, but you don't get it, right? It's like putting a ladder.
You're setting yourself up for failure by expecting.
Yes.
And expectations are massive.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to expectations too.
For me, I have an example for that. Like watching movies, like going in the cinema, like watching Marvel movies. You know how Marvel recently ended with a high note with Endgame? So obviously your expectations are all the way up here. Then one of my mates was talking about, I don't come in with the movies with high expectation now because I just get disappointed. So when I saw like Spider-Man trailer and shit, I'm like, I didn't really mind it at all. But usually I would be hyped for it. So my expectations were low. And then when I came in with the cinema, like it just blew me away. So that's like, put your expectations low. And that obviously applies in other factors of life. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I was just going to ask, is it setting your expectation low or just not having any expectation?
Low or no to low expectation.
Okay.
Why low?
Low, because obviously there's still this thing that's happening. For example, the movie. So it's there, so you're expecting it.
Right.
But it's not like you're not hyping it up internally.
Well, there's also the other context of like work. If you have that low expectation,
then I feel like your standards
and
are
if
going
the
to drop.
job
Exactly.
And it's not really. I don't think lowering expectations is like going to be productive in that sense.
Yes. Yeah. So what would be a good strategy to have no expectations,
but at the same time still have high standards?
Yes. Well, high standards and expectations are different.
But I feel like if you set your bar too low, like let's say in the gym, I want to.
Okay. So I've got an example, yeah.
I'll finish.
Oh, you go first.
Let's say you're doing a program. It's a strength training program, and towards that end, you have like a goal.
Yeah.
And it's calculated for you, like by the template.
Yeah.
Let's say if you lower expectations so that like you don't get disappointed, like when you test, when you're like at the final week of that training. I feel like if you lower your expectations, you're also going to lower your standards. Like, let's say my goal is to hit 100 kilos and I just lower it to 80. So why should I go as intense as I can when I don't really need to achieve something that high? So I feel like.
Yes, correct. I do see where that comes in. Like, I think it's hard to not have expectations and then have expectations and have a high standard.
I think the reason why some people have expectations is because of social media. So they compare themselves to someone who's really popular.
Right. That comparison.
That's their that's their level of expectation.
So what about
I think that's one of the reasons why social media is a bit damaging as well, mental health wise.
Yes.
Is because people are comparing themselves and having that expectation, setting the bar too high, like putting it on the pedestal kind of thing, when they shouldn't. Right. They should just work on themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. But look into themselves. So
obviously it's hard to do that. So what would you do to give some tips to someone?
I guess, I don't know, this is a bit extreme, but shut off social media. Yeah, that's a bit extreme, or do it less.
Wait, why do you think it's extreme? Like extreme thing? Because I guess it'll be extreme because we're so used to always being bombarded by social media. But
pretty much.
I don't know. I'm kind of old, so but I remember back in the day I didn't have any social media.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing was just catching up with friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so you don't have that. Yeah, I can think of my own mentality back then. It was like a lot better than it is now. Now because you're bombarded with like so much comparisons and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, why do you think like it's an extreme thing nowadays to do that?
Well, it's just like you open your phone from your bed, like the access is easy, and you could just look at the pictures instantaneously.
But what makes it extreme to shut it off?
Because a lot of people wouldn't do that. Like that's an extreme measure for them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like they can't live without it.
Yeah, you can't. Your phone is basically another part of you. So it keeps the numbers of your friends, family that you wouldn't normally remember if you didn't have a phone. So it's hard for people to not have phones. But it's an essential part of our life, basically.
I think it
So I
has
guess-
become an essential part of our life.
Yeah, it is. Like it's another organ of the body. If you wanna go that trippy about it. Legit, it's like a memory for you, like pictures
Right.
and stuff. That you take that, oh shit, I forgot about this picture. So
But-
it's like a memory that's in the phone, but not in your brain until you looked at it.
It's also, if you think about it, it removes the ability to remember, right? Because we have all this faith and trust in this device, and you're not using your own mental capacity to save these memories and to really embrace those moments, right? Which is so important. Like you have to embrace those moments of where you are and where you want to be. But
This is article that I read last year regarding like people who go on festivals and concerts, people who go on the phone the whole time, like recording it, don't remember it as much personally.
yes,
But people who just enjoy the vibes, no phone, just like smell the air, listen to the music, look at the sights, they remember it much better personally.
Yeah.
That's what the article mentioned. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Like when you have that reliance on something else, right?
Yes.
But going back to that expectation, is that something you guys are still working towards? Have you guys been able to have no expectations or at least lower it?
Personally, just self-development, just looking into yourself and improving yourself every day instead of comparing yourself to other people. I think there's a chapter in Jordan Peterson where it talks about compare yourself to the future you kind of thing. Because if you focus on yourself, you just have the expectation of improving yourself personally,
right?
And you get to your level because people, they have their own ways of getting to a certain level.
Okay.
Could you expand on that and compare yourself to your future self?
Like just like picture where you are going to be career-wise, financially wise, health-wise in the future. If you're doing so, it's goes back to the delayed gratification thing again, where it's like if you do things properly right now, even if it's hard, you'll reap the rewards basically in the future.
What about you guys?
What was the question again?
Are you guys like training or you already have that kind of ability to have that switch and have no expectations or lower your expectations? And how are you able to achieve it?
I feel like it depends on the context. Like there are some things that I think you should lower your expectations for, and then some things that you have to higher your expectations for. Like it's not like
what? Do you have an example for the high expectation?
Okay, for high expectations, it's for like a goal, something like a goal.
Yeah.
I don't think you should lower your expectations for like a goal that you're really like trying to get.
Yeah, you still want to set yourself to that bar, but I guess comparing yourself, not someone else, to that bar. Yeah, to the you right now. Like you want to compare yourself to that future self with a higher expectation. Yeah.
Right.
And for the things that you should lower your expectations for, I don't really know. Like maybe something that's not like goal orientated, maybe something that's like sort of spontaneous. Like if you're going to, like, say a party, you don't really have a goal in that party, you're just there to experience and have fun. I don't think that you necessarily have to higher expectations in that sense.
Yeah, I get
it's
you.
just like you have
I get
no
what you're saying.
expectations, you just go there, you turn up, and whatever happens, it happens.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah,
So it's kind of
totally
like
understand that.
mitigating or like controlling your expectations.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you go to a party thinking, oh man, I'm gonna get smashed, and then you don't end up getting smashed, and you're like, oh man, I'm disappointed. So I guess
That's a very interesting analogy. Well, okay.
So I guess lower your expectations. Depends on the
Like
situation. Situational.
Yeah.
What about you, Gerald?
I don't know. With expectation, I've always found it through my own experiences. Anytime I had no expectation of a certain thing, it always came out as a better outcome for myself.
Yeah.
So
just
are you just like going with the? Are you saying if you lower expectations, do you go with the flow, or you still follow like up the steps?
I still go with the steps, but just not lowering my expectation, getting rid of that expectation of whether it succeeds or it fails or something. I'm just going to be present in that moment and just see whatever happens. Like if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Like,
but you're still working as hard as you can.
Of course, yeah. I'm not lowering my standard. Like my standard is like I really want to achieve this. Is the goal I want to, but I'm not having the expectation. If I, I'm gonna achieve this and blah blah. Like this is not that thing that I hold tight, because if I do not meet that expectation that I have, then it's just gonna hurt me. It's just gonna push me back further. I'm like, oh no.
And I guess when like it comes to like working towards a goal, instead of looking at the goal, I think you should look at the pathway towards the goal, like looking at the journey instead of the destination. So
be process
driven. So you don't disappoint yourself. I guess that's way of lowering your expectation, even if you're working towards a goal. So like instead of like, let's say you're right here right now, and then you want to get to here. Instead of like looking how to get there, you should look at how to go on the steps.
What the process.
And obviously it's not like a one-way road. It's like bumps and like up and down.
Yeah.
But you want to eventually get that graph going up.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if I answered your question, but yeah.
No, I think what I want to like kind of from what you said, it's like you had that expectation, but then you removed it. Like you switched your mind into having no expectation. So I think from what you've said, I think it's kind of just like we can't avoid expectations. I think it's an innate thing that we have, right?
Yeah, because you know it's gonna happen. So there's that expectation.
Well, I don't think it's probably not, it's kind of from past experiences or from information that you've absorbed, you get an expectation.
Yes,
that
sort of different stimuli.
Yes, exactly.
And you have this expectation.
Yes, definitely. And it's just about when the expectation comes, it's not about staying in it. It's about being able to understand this is happening, but I don't have to believe that's what's going to happen, right? It's a potential. It's a potentiality. Yeah. So kind of like anything.
And that puts your focus somewhere else where it needs to be.
Yes.
Something more important.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're in that introspection process of understanding yourself, right? You have to allow those thoughts to come. You can't prevent it, because then it will just fester inside you. The quicker you're able to accept them and understand them, the better you'll be able to do what you will with that information that comes in your mind. So I believe for expectations about training your mind to not dwell and not stay in that thought process, right? Just because a thing comes into our mind doesn't mean we have to believe it. Doesn't mean this is our identity, right? We are not who we think. It's what we create for ourselves, right? How we are as a character through our actions, through our personalities, through our values. That's how we develop who we are. That's how we build our own identity, right? It's when you just attachment to anything. If you attach yourself to that expectation, whether it's high or low, majority of the time you aren't gonna get what you expect.
No one can really predict.
No one can really predict. It's only an assumption.
You can only prepare for it, but no one really knows what's going to happen.
Exactly. It's about preparing for that future, right? And just
setting your house in order.
Exactly. Setting your house in order, or just preparing yourself for the worst, right? So I heard from audio from John Maxwell. You guys familiar with him?
Yeah.
He's a motivational speaker. He's a leadership mentor, leadership coach, business coach. He does a lot of those things. And he, in terms of the expectations and being able to be prepared for all bases, he had this analogy. He was on a plane and that plane was landing and it got shaky, right? It got scary. Like he wasn't know he was going to stay alive or whatever. But eventually they were able to land safely, and he approached the pilot and was like, "Oh, how are you able to do that so calmly? How are you able to do that like without panicking?" And it's like, we prepared for it. So it's about putting yourselves in those places beforehand, suffering purposefully and intentionally so that you're able to understand, okay, this is a potential that might happen. I know I've prepared for this.
And if it
ready.
happens, you're in a good place.
Exactly. Well, you're not really in a good place. You're in a
But
place where you can.
in a better place
Yes.
than what you would have
Exactly.
if you didn't prepare. Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is sort of like raising your baseline,
Kind of. Raising your floor.
your floor.
Right? It's raising your own standard, or even not even raising your standard. It's about having the ability to be prepared for anything, training yourself to be prepared for any type of situation, right? But the only way you can prepare for them is to actually be in the doing, to be in that suffering. So, doing those uncomfortable things, right?
Yeah, definitely. When I look at going gym, I always think to myself, this is a way of me repaying my body by putting it through a bit of suffering, so I reap the benefits later. So that's how I owe my debt to my body by going to the gym. That's how I think about it. Yeah.
What's that debt that you're trying to?
Like you owe your body something.
Okay.
Like every day, like in terms of health. Yeah, and you gotta
Well,
get up to speed with that.
What else are you doing with your body apart from just physical exercise?
Well, body and mind as well. So reading books, physical exercise. I tried cold showers, but failed.
Why'd you fail?
I'll get into it.
Why'd you fail?
Yeah, I think I set my bar too high. Basically,
Why? How
with the
so?
cold showers. I think doing 2 minutes every day for me was a bit too much. I got up to the third day. I was like, shit, it was pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But I'm planning to get back to it once I get my house in order.
Well, like it's what you said in the Atomic Habits, right? When we had that podcast, it's like breaking down those goals, right? You set your bar too high and you failed, right? You failed. I don't think you failed. You won.
Yeah.
You learned from it.
Yeah.
You haven't failed yet.
You can take failure in two ways. Like you're stuck in failure or you can bounce from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's, with that, you wanted to do the 2 minutes. Like even when I first started, I did the 2 minutes. It was freaking hard, right? And the week was the hardest.
Like the first few seconds of it was like, fuck, you're cold. But eventually you stabilize.
Yes.
And you're like, oh yeah, I can last 2 minutes.
Then how come you didn't continue?
It's just like the expectation of like, fuck, I'm going to get cold. Like it... you know what I mean?
You're already dreading it.
So I had that high expectation. So I set myself up for failure.
Low expectation. You already set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. When I first doing those 2 minute showers, I had to have a belief in my mind that it wasn't cold. So I was saying, this is hot.
You got that intent.
Yes, I had the intent. But I was able to train my mind to say, this is hot, like just screaming that. Obviously, yeah, I did the
mind is powerful, man.
Yes, the mind is powerful, but it's also the words that you say as well. So it's, I was like, man, this is a hot shower. I'm so warm. And you remove that feeling of that coldness because your focus is somewhere else. And it's also, you're creating that belief in yourself that this isn't as cold as I believe it is. And eventually it just got so normal that I wasn't even saying that anymore. And when I stopped and started back again, I was just doing 30-second cold showers in bursts, like getting used to it, and then belt up like 1 minute, then up 2 minutes, and then now I can probably go on for as long as I want. But it's about building that tolerance. It's a stepping stone. Like you don't climb upstairs like from the bottom straight to the top.
Exactly.
You climb
take your steps.
Yeah, take your steps, right?
Small steps at a time.
Take your small steps. So
yeah, I am planning to get back into it eventually.
Yeah.
But what you just said is like actually what I start, because I did the same thing where I kind of did that.
Yeah.
I just failed after 2 minutes and I was like, oh man, this like I got up to like the 5th day. I'm just like, nah. I want to stay in bed more like that. Yeah. But then I did it after a few months, but I did that. Oh, okay. I'm gonna start.
That's
10 seconds,
thing,
20 seconds, 30 seconds. Okay. That was,
our
like
brains hardwired for instant gratification. Just gotta fight that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically.
We're fighting that battle in our mind.
Fight that battle.
Yeah.
It's a war.
And that's how you
improve.
You improve. You gain more equipment, you gain more tools by reading, having conversations, learning from people. That's how you get that growth, right? But yeah.
Sick, man.
Well, let's continue that conversation of growth, right? Like, Rob, you were telling me that you started reading, what book was it?
Tony Robbins.
Oh yeah, Tony Robbins.
I forgot the name, but it's like how to be the best version of yourself, something like that. I haven't really gotten deep into it. I've only been up to the first chapter.
Yeah.
But essentially, he just went over some of the like 6 strategies that you can apply to like make yourself the best version of yourself.
Right.
Anyway, but I think it was about growth. Yeah,
Yes.
not necessarily. But,
was there anything he touched on in the first chapter? Or?
like he mentioned, like his very first point was that you need to keep your standards high. Because if you, it already sets a baseline for you. Like you're not gonna accept, anything below that. You're only gonna accept greatness from yourself, from other people as well. Like say for example, relationships. If you set your bar too low and you're just comfortable like being in a shitty relationship, then you've already gone below your
standards.
Your standards. So that's detrimental. I'm just showing.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Setting a standard. Like I know you can set a standard for yourself, but like setting the standard high for someone else. Is that? I don't know. I guess like you expect them to meet your standard.
Not necessarily. It's more like you should. It's sort of like hang around people that have the same mindset or are on the same page as you, because you feed off each other.
Yeah. What was that question about standards? About having an expectation?
Or just having you can set your standard for a high standard for yourself, but setting that high standard for someone else as well, like other people. Like say for instance, I don't know if it's a standard or expectation. You like,
I think this comes down
person
to
needs to think.
like negotiation in the relationship.
Well, before even that, I think it's the high standards. It's okay it's good to have them, like as Rob said,
context wise,
right? But it's not about having that expectation of them achieving it. The standard is there to work towards.
Yes,
right. So, for example, it's say for a relationship, you have a standard of this is what I value. Those are my standards, right? You find a partner that you see potential future with,
yes,
right? Then it's about negotiating, creating compromises. Is this something you're willing to work towards? And then obviously, not only do you have a high standard, this person has a high standard too. So it's about working together in achieving those standards. Like the standards aren't there to be immediately met. They're like, this is what we want to achieve through the connection that we have, through the relationships that we have.
And that's why we have communication. We have speech.
We have communication.
So we can negotiate.
Exactly. But it's hard to negotiate if you can't connect, right? So there's another good book I think you guys would love. It's about negotiations, and the author was by an FBI agent who was in terrorist what's it called, when negotiator, right? And he pretty much teaches in his book techniques and his experiences in negotiating, right? And even in marketing, in sales, personally that I'm in, you can't create a sale just by communicating itself. It's about building a connection with that person, a relationship.
It's not just speech. It's
creating a rapport, eye
contact, like gestures.
Yes,
body language.
Body language, exactly.
That's everything as a whole, right? It's about creating that connection, relationship-wise, negotiating, and that all comes by both parties communicating. So going back to relationships, a subject we haven't really spoken about. If that's something you'd be open to talking about, guys, I think it'll be like an interesting topic, especially from a male perspective. But it's where was I going? Like about communication,
relationships
in terms of
relationships,
and that you have to create that connection.
Going back into like life is suffering, relationships. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's hard.
It's not.
But
I don't think it's hard.
Worth it.
I don't think it's hard. It's not easy or it's not hard. It's not as simple as well. It's a high effort thing.
It takes work.
From both people.
It takes an effort.
It takes work. And it's up to you. It's up to both of you if you want to make it hard or easy. Right.
It's
and
the intent as well.
Exactly. And that's where communication and connection comes into play.
There's a thing with there's a chapter in Jordan Peterson. It's like always tell the truth, but at least don't lie. And I think one of the main important things in building that rapport and trust between two different parties is telling the truth, and at least don't lie.
Well,
because that's how you. Because once you lie someone and they find out about it, there's that break in the trust. So next thing they say something and you don't follow through with it, it's like you had this doubt on the back of your head. You're like, is this guy telling the truth? Or since you had that prior break in the trust. So I reckon building trust is important, and tell the truth.
Definitely. But it's like a kind of a similar quote to that is like, obviously to build a connection, don't lie and also tell the truth, but it's also how much of the truth we say as well, right? It's like the quote was, what is true doesn't always need to be said, but what is said must always be true, right? So sometimes you might know the truth to something, but it doesn't need to be said. Right? It doesn't need, it's not necessary. You can ruin relationships as well by telling the truth. But you can also build stronger relationships by telling the truth as well.
Definitely.
But yeah, you know, if you guys are open, let's go to that relationship, you know, subject, because I think it'll be interesting to get a female perspective at one point and also get the male perspective on what it's like on that our end. So we have a vast experience of different areas in our relationship. So like, you know, what's your experiences with that in terms of communication and building that connection with your partner?
Can you go first?
It's getting personal.
It's very personal. But as you know, before we like have a disclaimer, like only share what you feel free, what you're comfortable with sharing.
Definitely. So my girlfriend and I have been together for 10 years since high school.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
But it has to.
What?
Planning to get a ring.
Is she listening? She knows.
Yeah, don't listen to this. Yeah, communication wise, I reckon we're pretty good with it. We're good with communication. We tell each other what bothers us, and we work towards it. It's just like tugging.
Tug of war.
So pretty happy with my relationship.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Is there, you know, you've been in a relationship for 10 years, like, damn, that's a crazy long time. Like, how are you able to build that connection from where you first began to where it is now?
It's just like, I guess, well, these days it's about working a goal towards something with us together as a team, working towards it. So like going through the process together, it builds trust with each other. And then, I mean, you guys have been working together with this company, like Okiru.
I thought you said we've been around.
You guys definitely have like a strong trust and relationship with each other.
Exactly.
I think working towards a goal together as a team is one of the things that kept our relationship strong.
That's cool, man. So how can, like, as Rob asked, like, as a question that's for all of us, how can we develop and what practices can we do to build that
so this is one thing with like relationships. Like a lot of people think, I don't know, this is my observation, but I've been in a long-term relationship, so I mean my observation could be wrong, but this is what I noticed. Basically, when people have a difference and some people can't take that, they just leave it. Like they're like, I don't want to deal with it. So like turning you back towards it instead of working towards it. Obviously, there's some extremes like criminal that obviously you have to get away from. Like obviously there's a limit to it. But I think a lot of people just don't want to work towards their differences. Like they give up easily because it's another stress in their life. But if you're in a relationship, it's always working with each other as much as you can. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's the same with me. Like when I realized, that's how I kind of realized. So this is an off podcast thing, but different for everyone.
Yeah.
But the reason why I knew and I wanted to marry Yuka was that I had that open and honest communication with her. When we started our relationship, I don't know, this is not advice, but for me, I told her like all the things that I was going through, like the struggles, even the bad things. Like I'm not a saint. The bad things, like we're
not perfect, man.
Yeah, we're not perfect. Yeah, but the bad things that happened in my previous relationships or whatever, and she was just opening to listening on that and not giving me that judgment. And I felt like, for me, oh wow, there's this person I can easily communicate with, I can be honest with, I can be truthful with. There's some things that we obviously disagree with, but like what Aaron said, like you work towards those, having that, those that compromise and understanding. Like, okay, you were that person back in the day, but now you're a different person. You're working towards being a better person, and I'm gonna accept you because you're working towards it. You're not perfect at the moment, but I can see I'm gonna stick with you because so it was that type of thing for me.
Amazing. Nice. I love it.
It's a complicated thing, relationships.
Well, I think it's complicated if we make it complicated, right? Like, I've seen many relationships that are very successful. Like, they've been together for like centuries, right? And it's just like, how are you able to do that, right? How are you able to maintain that relationship? Obviously, it's about growing and doing things every day, right? And building that connection. But one thing I've seen in them is they don't make it complicated, right? And why is that? I don't know. That's something I'm still yet to learn. But from reading the books that I read and learning from the people that that have those relationships, communication is so powerful and it's absolutely essential. But it's also connecting through that communication, right? So one thing I read in a book, and one thing I kind of told my missus is to have that high standard, right? I learned this from a book called what's it called? Keep Your Love On. It's a relationship book, and one of the things that is said to be committed with your relationship, or two things said. Be committed to yourself, and that you aren't responsible for anyone's like happiness. And that's one thing I told my missus too. And I just hope I can contribute to that, be a part of it. And the second one was to protect that connection at all costs, right? To ensure that you guys don't create those rifts. And when you do, you try to fix them as fast as you can. So, how to create that connection, that's something you'll find out with your own partner, right? And honestly, like the stuff we say, it's not advice. Like we're only speaking from our own experiences, right? Like we aren't professionals ourselves. We're only speaking from what we know and what we've learned. This is
anecdotal.
Yes. Yeah. So, like that, building that connection, that communication, it's a lot of work. And I guess sometimes it gets complicated is because some people don't understand it takes a lot of work and they want to oversimplify it, right? But
in what ways can you oversimplify it?
Well, like, that's a good question. I guess when there's no kind of North Star, no value, right? You're living as going with the flow type of thing, where you don't set those boundaries, you don't set those values. I guess that's what a kind of way to oversimplify relationship. When you have nothing set, there's no standard there, right? Obviously, you don't want to set such a high standard where you have to hit all these goals.
You gotta find your balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or find the values that you can target, you can hit, and that will maintain that relationship, right? So I was creating your 3 values or your 5 values that you guys will live your relationship upon. And sometimes those values change, and sometimes obviously life happens. We're not perfect, right? So like if you can develop those values, like for me personally, that's the way I would like to do my relationship is, and our relationship that we're building is, we have those values, right? We set that time aside, and we had that communication. All right, this is where we're going to be at.
You got to make it transparent.
Yes.
Do you hold each other accountable for those values, and do you talk about it?
Yes. 100%. You have to. If you don't call each other out, how are they gonna know?
Yeah.
Right. And there's been multiple times like, yes, we
There's
have called
this
each other out.
chapter in Jordan Peterson's book. I think it's about be friends with people who want the best for you, and the best for you doesn't necessarily mean that it's an easy thing to do.
Yes.
It could be actually really hard, but it's what's going to work for you, and it's what's going to develop you personally.
Yeah.
So you got to be friends with people like that.
Yeah. Definitely.
And yeah, like your partner as well. Have that relationship with them as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wanting the best for each other.
Exactly. It's wanting the best for each other, right?
Yeah.
But also like, obviously it's, you know, that loving, sometimes what I think can ruin it is having of that expectations again, receiving that.
Yeah.
No, not really way too high, but I guess high in a sense that you hope that you receive that in return.
Yeah.
Right. And then it becomes something of a transactional thing. Like I do this for you, then I'm going to receive this. But
there's a part in the book where it talks about the act of sharing with one another. Apparently that's like one of the things that we humans do to build trust as well. Because if you give someone something, then they'll feel like they're in debt and they'd want to give you something back.
Of course.
So that's one way of building relationships as well. And not just in like with friends, like work as well, negotiation. Yeah.
But obviously not everyone's going to have that value of sharing, right? But yes, it's a very valuable thing to have, to be someone who's a giver, who's willing to share. But it's also when having an expectation of that person sharing too. I think that's where it becomes hard. Like that's why expectations is also a big thing that I personally have learned over the past years, that by removing expectation and like understanding it, as opposed to being my identity.
I guess you can't help to have expectations with someone who you're in a relationship with. I guess that's when communication comes in, so they know what your expectations are, and then you can work yourself towards that level.
True.
Yeah.
But I still think it's not having that expectation. It's having that standard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if I want to honor this partnership, this relationship, like wouldn't you want to do everything? And sometimes we fail.
It comes down to negotiation again, and
is it negotiation?
Negotiation and like communication, like with what works between the two different parties. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's how you set the expectation, I guess, for the both parties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're probably going around circles in this expectation thing. But all right, let's continue on with like relationships. Like for guys, what are some things that we could, share from our experiences to people who are just getting a relationship, like myself, like very, very early on, and guys who are looking to get into a relationship?
I think one of the... Oh, no, you go ahead.
I'd say just be yourself, be genuine.
Yes.
Because you want the person that you want to be in a partnership with to be comfortable with your real self. Because if you pretend to be someone else, they're always going to be looking for that, whether it's like higher or lower standard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, if you change and you actually show your real self, you don't really know if they still want to be with you, or you're not even attracting the right person because you're not being yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they might be attracted to the person you were pretending to be, and that's just like a downward.
Then that's when it gets complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, when you begin a relationship, one of the things, like learning their love language.
Yes.
Yeah. So like,
very good one.
And
What are there's 5, yeah?
There's words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and gifts.
Yeah,
and it's knowing
your own.
Yeah, I'm happy to share one.
All right.
Yeah.
But you want to finish?
You'll normally have like 2 main ones, right? Or
yes.
Okay.
Was it? I don't know.
Usually 2 to 3. High quality, like the majority of your percentage. But usually 2.
Is there a test online that you can do?
Yes, there's a test online.
Oh yeah.
I actually haven't done the test.
Oh.
I just like, for me, I felt the most love when it's like so one of them was acts of service. So So what was the other ones? Like this
Physical touch.
Physical touch.
Quality time.
Quality time.
Gifts.
Mhm.
All right, here it is. It's
Words of affirmation.
words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts.
Okay.
One was quality time and access service.
Mhm. So what
For
is
myself.
what is acts of service to you?
So for instance, I feel loved when, in the morning I notice, oh, she made me breakfast. Oh my God. I can't believe it. Oh my
Acts
God.
of service. Yeah.
But like just, so, it makes you feel good because you're just like, oh, you didn't, I
like
wasn't
when-
expecting that.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
like when they do something for you, but they don't expect anything in return. It's like
Unconditional love.
Unconditional.
Yeah.
yeah. And because they did that, because they were thinking about you, I was like, oh, I want him to eat something in the morning. I want him to, have a good breakfast in the morning, something like that. It might be,
So sweet.
yeah.
Even the thought of it is like
Yeah.
good.
Mm-mm. But I guess the other thing as well is having that thing that just because it's your act of what is it? Your love language. It's not their love language. So I feel love through acts of service, and so I feel like I need to do like that same thing for them, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like it's something completely different.
Yeah. It's about learning your partner's love languages too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting test. It's very quick. No, it's really good. It's a really good test. But I think reading the book as well as doing the test is very valuable because in the book it gives scenarios, situations, how to fill each other's love tank based on those love languages. But yeah, it's a very short read, but it's a really good book to look into. But
Yeah. Well, what's yours?
so from last time I did it, it was I think it was quality time, physical touch, words of affirmations, acts of service, and gifts. Gifts was 0 or very low. And then my two main ones was quality time and physical touch, and then acts of service. I mean, what was it? Quality time, acts of service. Oh my God, I'm getting these mixed up, man. Like physical touch, words of affirmation was the third one. But yeah, and then
Need to do the test.
yeah, even get your partner to do it if she's willing, and so you can understand how to feel each other's love language, right? So when
It's
you're
actually a cool way to for your relationship.
yeah.
Definitely.
It's really cool, man. Like when you understand that, and then you talk about it, be like, oh hey, like I know this is your love language. What things can I do to fill that tank, right? And then from there, it's like that's how you build that connection. You build that relationship with your partner, type of thing.
Yeah, definitely need to suss that out.
Yeah, it's really, really, really good.
It's good for your relationship because you could be doing
That's another way to communicate with each other better.
Yeah, and you can also be doing the wrong love language for them. You can be like, "I love you, baby. Oh, you're the best." But if that's not their love language, they're not gonna feel love at all.
You don't feel that person's tank, right? So it's when you have the ability to understand it, you know where they find more value. Obviously, some will have almost all of them. But it's also good to go into relationships doing them fresh as well. So you might have changed from before.
Yep. Definitely. Has yours changed throughout the years?
I haven't checked, but I feel like physical touch has probably gone to number one, and then quality. You know what? I think quality time and physical touch are like very neck on neck. Words of affirmations, like it does fill my tank, but I don't think it fills my tank as much anymore because there was a period last year where I went through a really intense process, like breakdown and just finding myself, right? And from that, I was able to build those beliefs and find my own identity, but by doing things myself. So words of affirmation, yes, they're really nice to hear, but they're not the things that are gonna fill my tank as much as like physical touch and quality time. Like we could just be doing nothing and just like chilling, right? And I'd just be like, I feel so at peace, you know. But
yeah,
spending time together.
Yeah.
Is your girlfriend watching this?
She probably is. Hey baby,
Is this
I
live?
love you.
No.
Oh, this is not
No,
live.
it's not live. This is not live.
Would you guys do a live podcast?
I think if we want to, we'd want to.
We're thinking of having the IGTV, the
IGTV on.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
While we're
That'd
doing
be
it.
interesting, huh?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like,
Yeah.
see who watches, or even just like testing ourselves live, right? Obviously, it's different when you're on recording.
I feel like the pressure.
Because you can edit.
There's more pressure on
Yeah.
live. Yeah.
Hey man, you guys are doing like a fantastic job, phenomenal job. Like, have you guys like done anything like this, like been in front of people and speaking?
Before you go, did you say your love languages yet?
Oh yeah,
No.
Would you know what your love language is? What do you think? If having not done the test, from hearing what you've heard, the 5 languages, what do you think would fill your tank?
For me, I think physical touch and quality time as well. Like, I like being in the present. You know, like give things such as gifts. Doesn't like it's a different category. You know,
What was it again, man?
Okay.
He was asking me why.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
What
My
do you
bad.
want to ask me what the 5 languages are?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. What was it again?
Okay, so there's words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and gifts.
Okay. What was your one?
Physical touch and quality time. So essentially being present with your
I don't know. I gotta do the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I'll find out.
the test is kind of like this. It's a question. It'll be like, oh, do you prefer, or if your partner comes home and they give you a big hug, or do you prefer, them like saying, oh, like how was your day? It's those type of questions, putting the things side by side.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rob,
Yeah. What was
continue.
yours? Sorry, bro.
Yeah. So physical touch and quality time. Yeah, like I said, it's more of the love languages that allow you to like be present with your partner. Things such as word of affirmation. Yes, like your partner can be present as well, but I know it's, I guess, different sensory. Like it's a hearing, like audio, compared to, I don't know. I think touch and being present.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why they have the the love languages there, because everyone has a different thing. And like sometimes people have very close to the 5, and it's just then about like how can you do all of these things, right? And filling that tank, and building that connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really good stuff, guys. Really good stuff.
Do you guys
Yeah.
want us to feel loved?
Yeah, you know our love languages now. If you see us, like, just give us just spend time with us. Not too much time. Like, we want to spend time with our partners and our friends and our loved ones. So
Can you say, like, would you apply those love languages to your family, like not just romantic relationships?
I think so. Yes, there is I'm pretty sure there is a book for that too. I haven't got into it, but yeah, it does apply to them too. If you want to fill their tank, obviously you're not their partner, but yes, they would appreciate it.
But do you think this is something that you should communicate as well and be transparent with your family?
Their family?
Yeah, like these love languages.
Why not?
Especially if you're, it's for the betterment of your relationship. If you want to have that open thing, like, oh, mom, dad, what is your love like?
Yeah.
When do you feel loved?
Yeah. But it's also about like obviously asking permission. Like, is that something you want to look into? If not, I guess I'll just do it myself then. But yeah, you can definitely do that with your family. I think it would build a healthy relationship with your family. Honestly, yeah. That's good, man. All right, I think we're a bit fried, man. I think we're getting cooked. But like,
that was a really good podcast.
Yeah, let's take this baby into landing. All right, let's close this out. All right. So I think we spoke about a lot of very valuable discussions. But let's end it with you guys, as we like to end our podcasts. We have 3 questions that we need to ask you. What are you grateful for? What have you realized? And what is a question you want to ask yourself or to the viewers? But before you do that, we just want to thank you guys for this is our first podcast of the year. Thank you guys for jumping on. Wow. Yeah, so hopefully we can have more
thanks
podcasts.
For having us again.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think it's going to be an exciting year. So, stay tuned, guys. But yes, if you could answer those questions for us.
So what are the questions?
So first question, what are you grateful for?
for me right now in this moment, I'm grateful for having this experience. It's like something I've always wanted to do, but I've never really had the courage of doing it.
Awesome,
But
man.
being here now, it's like it's just like conversing with your friends. You know?
it's
It's
just-
like
That's what it is, man.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
sharing opinions, sharing
Perspectives,
perspective,
yeah.
essentially.
That's it, man. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience.
Yes.
It is.
So I am thankful for this experience, and
We thank you.
Yes,
we thank you, man.
Yeah, we
My
appreciate
pleasure.
you coming here, man.
Yeah. What about you, Aaron?
Hey,
What are you grateful for?
being able to do this podcast again with
Yeah.
you guys.
We love it, man. We have a blast doing with anyone. We love talking to you guys too, man. Obviously, maybe in different circumstances, it might be interesting, right? Like it'll be, we're kind of like in an explorative, situation. So it's really very good, very fun, very very fun. I think it'll be funny to do it like exploring next time, right? Like you can see where our
The world
introspective
is
minds
vast,
take
right?
us.
Your
Right?
mind is vast. There's a lot to
Exactly.
explore.
delve into other.
Into other things, right?
Perfect.
Second question. Yeah. What?
We'll do it next time. We have a lot of exploratory content.
Okay. That'll be
Actually,
interesting
this
to
guy,
hear.
when we used to go gym in his garage,
Oh, nice.
talk about the funniest,
Yeah.
interesting shit.
Maybe we
So-
can have a fun
That'll
one
be-
where it's like we just talk crap and just,
Yeah.
enjoy it, just enjoy each other's
I think
company.
the next
Pretty
time we
much.
have you guys on, man,
Yeah,
we'll definitely
yeah,
have to do
definitely.
that.
Let's do it on like a Friday night or something. Saturday night or something. We don't think it's But yeah,
Definitely.
second question. What have you realized? Like, what's a realization?
It's a hard question.
I'll do mine if you
You
want.
wanna do
Yeah.
Please don't get too deep. I'm joking. I get as deep as you want, man. Well, that's not wrong. Cut that out. Hey.
There's only two things in life that are confirmed: death and taxes.
That's a good realization.
It's a good song by Daniel Smith. I love it.
I guess my realization, but it's not recent. It's something I've always like fall back onto. It's the best project that you're ever gonna work in your life is yourself. It's not your career. It's not your finances. It's not even your relationships. It's yourself. You start with yourself first, and then the better.
Work with the other
Right.
parts of your life.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah. The more you have worked on yourself, the easier those other things are gonna
Yes.
become.
Yeah.
So that's my realization.
That's beautiful,
Yes.
man. Very beautiful. That'll be so good to like dive into that a bit more.
Yeah.
Like
I'd
everyone's
like to talk about that.
development
definitely.
from where Aaron started, and we had this podcast where you first started, and then we'll see down the line, man. Like, oh, what's the growth, man? What have you been doing?
Yes.
Because
Just
you said,
explore it too.
yeah, exactly. But like as you said, you're in that mindset development. You want to change that. Like, where would that take you? And then next time we have you, man, it'll be interesting.
Yes.
100%. Like
Yeah.
I never really believed in New Year's resolutions because for me, I'm always gonna work on my goals, irregardless of time. Like there's no point in time that I'm gonna press the gas pedal harder. Not in the sense that there's a specific like date in the calendar, because you do need to like step off the gas a little bit from time to time so you don't burn out. But yeah, with New Year's resolutions, I don't really think it's effective at like making people like change for the better, because I feel like you should always be striving to do that anyway, irregardless of the date. So yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, no, I don't do New Year's resolutions either. Like,
You know
I have
what? There's a thing about that in a book I read.
Yeah.
I think it was in Atomic Habits.
You love that book.
Oh, maybe. Oh, we'll talk about it next time. We'll talk about it next time. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. It's about having expectation wise. Yeah. If you're working towards a goal, having that internal push puts you. Fuck. How do I say it? Like if you're giving your expectation from what you want from yourself, it's much better, like mentally. But if you're getting it from an external thing, it's worse off for you.
Yes.
For example, the New Year's resolution, that's an external thing. That's not something internal. You know what I mean? But if one day you just woke up and you're like, yeah, I want to go to the gym and work out, or something like that.
Yeah,
that's an internal thing. If that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, that's cool, man.
I got off track a bit.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, but New Year's resolutions, like that's not something I've done, but what I've done like last year was like create a 10-year timeline. That's kind of my resolution, right? And it was crazy, like for something to manifest when you write that down. So when I wrote that down, I was like mid-year, for past mid-year, and the first thing I wrote. It's just a crazy, experience to have, but like it's kind of like a blessing. Shout out to baby. But yeah, pretty much the first thing I had on that was like 2021. Like the first goal was like find your life partner, and to be able to achieve that or to have that manifested at the end, it was just a crazy feeling. Like wow, like these goals, they can manifest, they can turn out, but it's not having that expectation of it happening. It's like what Rob said, building yourself, focusing on who you are, and those things will just happen in serendipity of life, right? And it's just even more beautiful when it happens unexpectedly, and you'll be surprised at what happens. And like one thing I like to say is, the best is yet to come, and we're right where we're meant to be, right? Because that removes the expectation of what's going to happen.
Yes.
When you realize we're right where we're meant to be, you lose the blaming, you take accountability of your life, right? You're fully present. So that's what like things are like I've learned through that process of creating your resolutions and creating that guide for yourself. And it's not, goals aren't supposed to be hit. They're not set to be hit. They're set to create focus in what you want to do, right? And that's the misconception with a goal. Like if you keep achieving those goals, you're saying your bar too low. It's when you create that focus in what you want to do, that's what the goal is. And if you achieve it, all the more, that better. Right?
So focus on the process instead of focusing on the goal.
Exactly. But you still need to have the goal there, right? Another thing I like to say is, look back on the past, use it as a reminder, and look forward for the future. Look towards it, but always like remember where you are at the present moment. Like embrace that moment where you are right now, because it's all fleeting, But yeah, with the lot. What about you? You already said your realization. Yeah. Last question. What's a question you want to ask yourself or the people listening? Like, what's something you want to leave them to think about, or to you walking out of this?
Is this a simulation?
Back.
That's it. Just leave it at that. Just leave it at
that's
that.
actually a good ending.
Just leave it at that. What was your one, bro?
I have a lot of questions.
What's something you want to... Oh, you can ask... You can have multiple questions that you want to say and share. Maybe it might trigger someone listening, Maybe I have to think about that. Why haven't I thought about that before? All right. So what are some of those questions, if you're open to sharing?
Can I ask you first? What
sure.
question would be?
What would a question be?
Like, no. Like for you, what would you leave the audience?
That's a good one. Like, it's a difficult question to ask, but I think something, like that got me out of having the expectations and allowed me to build that self-esteem for myself is like, what are you doing for yourself, and how are you improving your own relationship with who you are, and what are you willing to do to improve that? Are you committed, or are you just interested in doing those things? Yes. Yeah.
What was your one?
What question?
One of my one was when
was Gerald.
What was your one, Jared?
My one was just when was the last time you sat by yourself in silence without any distractions? Just with your own peace and.
Oh, here's another good question. Oh, do you have
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Go. What's something you valued before but don't value anymore? That's how you know that. That's how you know growth, right?
That's a good question.
Very good question.
But yeah, these are just some of the questions like, you know, we like to ask ourselves, right? Because it gets us into those points of like digging deep who we are.
Yes.
You know,
Knowing yourself.
like
Knowing
what
your
are your
psyche.
values, man? Like those type of questions, like what do you really value in life?
You know what I've been doing recently is like questioning what I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, like my internal beliefs. Like I get into a situation and I'm like, was I really in the wrong or was I really in the right? Like I will analyze it and then come to a conclusion. So I always question what
I think you'll be interested in this book called Think Again by Adam Grant.
Yeah.
It talks about, you know, your perspective and your thoughts. He had this really good, I forgot what it was, but you know, sometimes when we believe, if we think we are something, in reality we are really not. So like if you think you're the best at this, like you are not really the best at this.
Is it like the imposter syndrome?
No, it's not imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is like when I succeeded but I don't feel like I belong. Right. Fuck, I wrote this down, but it's just interesting when you allow yourself to really change your perspective and open your mind to the thing that's happening. Like, yeah, I might read this book again. It's a really good book. Think Again by Adam Grant. It's just about like questioning those experiences, like what Aaron was saying, and really questioning what you know, your core beliefs, right? And sometimes they might be right.
What makes you who you are as a person?
Exactly.
It's like finding yourself from those questions.
Yeah. Finding yourself,
and then that's how you get to know yourself better and your psyche.
Exactly.
I think that's one relationship that most people don't really spend that much time on, trying to really build a relationship with themselves, like a healthy one.
Yeah. And you know, when I talked about that breakdown, that was my period of really developing myself. Like that was a time I was really focused on building a relationship with myself. Like I was going runs in silence and just being in that moment, thinking, letting my mind think and letting it be free, speaking in front of a mirror, like Gerald said previous podcast with the accountability mirror, asking those questions and having that discussion with yourself, building your self-confidence and self-esteem through the different habits. Like for me personally, it was the High Five Habit by Mel Robbins, you know, doing those simple things to build yourself, going on exercise and really suffering, putting myself in those positions I hated to be, like running 7-10 Ks, right? Like, and just doing that every day for a period of time, and pushing myself when I was doing like my workouts at home, like really suffering. I think that's what a question Gerald posted on our stories once was like, this is also a question for you guys, is can you only grow through suffering? And for me personally, I think you can only grow through suffering.
Bro, there's a part in Jordan Peterson again, the book, and he ties it in with the Bible. And I actually found that interesting, even though I'm not religious. Like I found that comparison in that story interesting. So basically, you know how the story of Jesus, he died and then was reborn again 3 days later as a new person. I think that's like an analogy to life and suffering. So the death is suffering, and once you get reborn in it, you become a new person. So once you get out, you work in your suffering and work towards making yourself better, and then you're reborn as a new person. I think that's topic that was covered as well.
You know, like it's interesting when you read these books, self-development books, leadership books, any of these books from all these great, incredible authors, oftentimes a lot of them have some religious or Bible aspect from it, right? I'm not gonna go into this religious thing, right? But it's more of like, you might not be religious, but you might have faith in your creator, right? Spirituality, right? And who are we to judge people on what religion or what tribe or organization they're a part of, right? Who are we to take those things away from them? It's just about how can we just be good people while we're on this earth, and how we can like share that love with everyone. I mean, everyone who we interact with. But yeah, did you have a final question?
How do you build a healthy relationship? Have you done something today to build a healthy relationship with yourself? That's my question to the audience.
I love it, man.
That's a good question.
That's a really great question. Anyway, like, hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. It was such a pleasure to have you boys on.
Yes.
Thank you
Very
for
insightful.
taking the time to, meet us today and like spend these moments with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys.
100%.
Thank you. I learned so much.
That was so good.
It's like, free relationship advice, free dating coaching.
At one point, man, I was like, man, I feel like I'm in therapy.
It is therapeutic though.
Legit.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing, like, therapy is healthy, right?
Yeah.
And the book I'm
Talking
reading
about
now,
it.
Transcending Trauma, it's about a therapist and helping therapists, right? Because they
We're
need help
human.
too.
We're all
We're
human.
all human, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone needs a hand.
Everyone needs a hand.
Yeah.
So,
We're social beings.
yeah. I love this quote. It's a beautiful story I heard on a podcast. Like, it's pretty much, there's a story. I'll try to cut it short, like paraphrase this story. So pretty much during 9/11, there was this guy. He was a accountant in one of the towers, and his always dream was to be a firefighter. But eventually, obviously, life changed, and he pursued to become an accountant. He was able to get a job on like the 80th floor or something on one of the buildings. And what happened was, obviously, the plane crashed, and then the plane crashed his building. And so, he had the initiative to just be like, all right, I'm going to save people. He climbs up the stairs and, helps people come down and stuff. And he says this beautiful line, man, like, if you can stand now, then do so. Oh, wait, if you can stand now. And if you can help someone, then do so. It's like, yes, we need to build ourselves first, make sure that we're okay. And then when we can, give the helping hand to others and help each other to get up, because we all of us, eventually we need a hand. So it's about how we can be those good people and share
Looking
that.
at it outside of the box as well. It's like going further. It's like contributing to society.
Yeah,
Basically.
exactly.
Because we live as people living with each other.
Yeah. So what's that legacy you're gonna leave behind, man?
Would you say that's
I don't know, man.
Would you say that's the purpose of life? To help other people.
Who knows? I think our purpose
I
of
think-
life is a little different.
Yeah. I feel like as a collective species of humans, our purpose should be to work towards making a better future for the future generation and evolving as a species.
Ideally. But obviously there's greed and evil, right? We can't change that. We can only do our part by being the best people we can. And
I
just doing
think if individually people try to become the better version of themselves, that eventually expands.
eventually.
Yeah.
But it's so hard, man.
Yeah.
It's because of life.
It's
Life
is
happens.
suffering.
Life happens.
Life happens. Yeah.
Some people can deal with suffering, some people can't.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you can't deal with it, it's just death. But if you can keep moving forward, you have a future.
That's beautiful. We're gonna end it there, man. We're gonna end with that. All right, boys, let's wrap it up. Thank you guys again. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate your time.
Oh, nope. Next.
I guess we'll hear it next time.
Next time.
This is the Okiru podcast. Make sure to always stay safe. Always. Oh man, we haven't done a podcast in ages. I forgot the closing line.
What is it?
I know the last word.
Always
Always choose to get up.
Always choose to get up. All right.
Okiru.
So yeah. Oh, man. Nah, we're rusty, man. Like.
Do you guys watch? We're finishing it from here. Then.
No, we're finished. Are we done?
Yeah.
All right. Wait, let me do this closing out. What's the closing out phrase, man? Like, how do we do this?
So, what's the first words did you say?
I forgot. All right, wait. I think we got this, man. We got this. Thank you for still listening. If you're listening to this, this is the bloopers of the podcast.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I'm just gonna,
Always stay safe.
Always
Stay hungry.
Stay hungry.
always stay safe. Let's go. Always stay hungry and always choose to get up. Peace.
Okay.
Okay.